American-style barbecue is a fatty piece of meat that has been slow smoked until it falls apart. And absolutely you can recreate that in your kitchen, inside, with no fire, just with your oven and liquid smoke, which is of course actually a smoke product, or at least it's very chemically similar to a smoke product. It's basically condensed smoke, maybe with a few additives, like this one has some vinegar in it. We'll see how that affects things. So over here I've got a beef brisket, half a brisket. This is the flat. You could get any kind of piece of brisket that you want. Also, tri-tip makes pretty good barbecue, beef barbecue. First thing I'm gonna do is just trim down this fat cap a little bit, just because it's a little bit thicker than I want, but that's really not kind of integral to this method of doing it in the oven. So now what I'm gonna do is like rub it down with liquid smoke. You know, really quite a lot of it to replicate the smoky taste of real barbecue. Unfortunately, you know, not all liquid smoke products are the same, and some of them might be more intense or concentrated than others, and you might just have to experiment a little bit, but this is about what works for me with this brand. One of the advantages of doing this with liquid smoke is that liquid smoke probably, depending on how they made it or processed it, contains fewer of the things that give you cancer. And there's some research indicating that food made with liquid smoke rather than real smoke is a lot less full of carcinogens. All right, fat side up, and I'm gonna put a rack underneath this. You don't have to do the rack. It just slightly better replicates the kind of open environment of a hot smoker in which you normally make barbecue. You get a drier bottom this way, but it doesn't make a big difference. Okay, now if I had like a pre-mixed barbecue rub, I would use it. I don't. I'm just gonna improvise one directly on top of the meat. I like doing that anyway because then it makes it easier for me to eyeball the proportions. Lots of black pepper, ton of garlic powder, a lot of onion powder. These are all real standard barbecue rub ingredients. Paprika, mostly for color. Maybe a tiny bit of cumin. I think I'm gonna try some coriander today. And then a little sugar, whatever kind of sugar you want. White sugar is fine. I'm gonna have molasses in my barbecue sauce. Oh, and finally, salt. As much salt as you would normally use to season this much meat. All right, and I'm just gonna rub that in. Flip it around and do the other side. I'm being a little more aggressive with the flavoring than I normally am when I barbecue a brisket, just because, you know, there is a certain characteristic flavor that the liquid smoke has, and if you can distract from it a little bit, it really is an almost perfect doppelganger for real barbecue. I'll flip that around, and we don't need the thermometer yet. We'll put that in later when we wrap it. I'm just gonna throw this straight into the oven right now. The oven is at 225 Fahrenheit, which is 107 Celsius. Get as close to that as you can with your oven. And I've got the convection fan on. I think that that's pretty important, otherwise it just goes really slow. And the convection fan replicates the environment of the traditional smoker because there's lots of convection currents, moving air inside a smoker. And the low temperature is the real key to making this actually taste like real barbecue. Let it go very, very slow for like 12 hours. It's gonna be a long time. Get this started first thing in the morning. I know it feels weird, but eventually that brisket will become as soft as my mattress from Helix Sleep, sponsor of this video. Hey, right now there's a Memorial Day sale where you can get 25% off. Check out my link, which is helixsleep.com/Ragusia. Helix Sleep makes extremely high quality premium mattresses that are customized to your needs. You take a little quiz, you tell them what your sleep issues are and how you're generally sized and shaped, and they will recommend a model for you, as they did for me, which is the Helix Dusk. And here's the amazing part. It arrives in the mail. Like they ship it to you in a box under incredible vacuum compression. All you do is break the seal and it just explodes into a bed. A real bed, not an air mattress. Mine is this beautiful hybrid spring and foam mattress that is tremendously great on my back and is the perfect compromise for me and Lauren. She usually wants a bed that's a little bit firmer. We found the perfect middle spot for us. We've been sleeping on it nearly 2 years now, and physically my sleep has never been better. Mentally, I still have issues, but those are mine to work out, not Helix's. Helix's job is to give you a 100-night sleep trial to make sure you love it. There's also a 10-year warranty. I love my Helix mattress, and I'm pretty sure you will too. Their Memorial Day sale is running now. It's the perfect time to upgrade your sleep with 25% off a Helix mattress, plus 2 free pillows. Click my link in the description or just go to helixsleep.com/Ragusia to find out more about this limited time offer. Thank you, Helix Sleep. Anyway, I've also been playing with barbecue chicken, and the procedure here is quite different. The surface structure of chicken doesn't really seem to absorb the liquid smoke the way the surface structure of beef does. It just kind of washes off. So you have to do like a little brine marinade situation to get enough smoke flavor into the chicken. You could, of course, simply put a bunch of liquid smoke into a normal brine. What I'm going to do is sort of a smaller scale version of that. I'm just going to season the chicken with salt, about as much as I think it's gonna need in the end, right? Then the aqueous phase of my little brine here is just gonna be straight liquid smoke. Maybe with other brands this would be too intense, but with this one, it works pretty good for me. Just kind of enough to coat everything as this sits and sort of brines or marinades or brininades, whatever you wanna call it, for I think an hour does well. And while that may seem like a long time, these cook faster than the brisket, so it'll all work out in the end. Okay, it's been an hour, let's go check our brisket. Now, believe it or not, this will eventually have a bark or a crust on it that's almost as dark as normal pit-smoked barbecue. It'll take another hour or so. You could spray this with some vinegar as it cooks. That's commonly done painted if you don't have a spray bottle. But I gotta remember that my liquid smoke here actually has some vinegar in it, and liquid smoke is gonna be a little acidic no matter what. So I don't think I really need much more vinegar. I might give it like another little coat of the liquid smoke right now. It's all a question of how smoky you like your barbecue. Now let's get the chicken going. I'll just make some room for it. Plop it over here, and I'm gonna put my rub on now. And the only reason I didn't put my rub on before the marinade is that it just looks a little nicer if you put the rub on after the marinade. If you put it on with the marinade, the powders of the rub kind of clump up in an unattractive way, but it doesn't really matter. Of course, these are chicken leg quarters, which I think is the best thing to barbecue as far as parts of the chicken go. White meat you can barbecue, but it tends to come out quite dry no matter what you do. And of course you could do just like straight thighs, just straight drumsticks. You don't have to do the intact leg quarter together. Oh, and one thing to remember is no more salt. We brine this chicken. It's already got all the salt that it needs. We used the brine to kind of drive smoke flavor into the tissue of the meat, which is the only way you can really kind of get it into chicken. Otherwise, it just seems to bounce off the surface of chicken. And these will just bake at the same relatively low temperature in the oven. Oh, and a little water in that pan wouldn't be a bad idea. You know, there's steam in a normal smoker environment. You know, wood makes steam when it burns, a little steam. So after 3 or 4 hours in the oven, that brisket is about as dark as it's gonna be. And the only reason like a real pit-smoked brisket is darker is because real smoke has like soot and tar and bad stuff in it that they can filter out when they make liquid smoke. So this is actually good. What I'm gonna do now is do what you would do in normal barbecue and wrap it for the duration of its cooking. And traditionally, of course, you would do this with like peach butcher paper, but foil is just fine. And you wanna wrap it really tight, because what we want to do now is basically braise it until it's soft in its own water. Now with real smoking, the reason why you do it uncovered for the first few hours is so that the smoke can actually like adhere and build up and accumulate on the surface of the meat. We don't have to worry about here because we had instant smoke, right? But if you were to wrap it for the duration of the cooking and you don't develop that kind of slowly browned outer crust, the result ends up tasting like just kind of a stew at best and I don't know, dog food at worst. So there we go. The chicken legs I will not cover at all because the skin does a good enough job protecting them from too much evaporation. Back in the oven for a long time. I do need to put the thermometer into the deepest part. In you go. For a long time. Oh yeah, I took a shower. So why is this taking so long? It's because we're doing it at this very low temperature where you normally smoke meat for barbecue. We could do it at a higher temperature in the oven and it would cook faster. We'd get soft meat much sooner, and you could totally do that. It would just taste more like a roast and less like barbecue is the only way that I can describe it. Hey, let's mix up some barbecue sauce. These are all very common ingredients in such a sauce. Ketchup, molasses, mustard, Worcestershire, hot sauce, vinegar, more ketchup, and then you literally just stir it up and adjust until you like how it tastes. Now, chicken is done just whenever you can pull it apart into pulled barbecued chicken. I cooked this about 6 hours total, I think. You can cook it a little longer than that, but I don't like for pulled chicken to be too dry. And the brine that we did, the little brine, really helped keep everything moist. Feel free to do this with a couple of forks, but fingers are better because you can feel for bits of cartilage or stuff that you want to keep out. And the interesting thing about the liquid smoke is that it has kind of an acridity that you notice when it comes straight out of the bottle, but it mellows a lot as it cooks. Let's see. I mean, that tastes like barbecue because that is barbecue, just by a different means. So the brisket took literally 13 hours to get to 195 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about like 90 C, and that's about when you want to pull it from the oven. That's the temperature at which it's going to be soft, but also juicy. Let it rest at least a half hour before cracking it open. Yeah, this took a long time, but this is how long real barbecue takes, and that's why this is gonna taste like real barbecue. Slice this baby right down the middle for the money shot. Oh yeah, look at that. Now one thing you'll notice is that it doesn't have the pink smoke ring. It is still a little bit pink, you can tell. If you want it to be really pink, you want to buy one of those curing salts that you can find online. It's like mostly just normal table salt, but 5% sodium nitrite. That's going to replicate the effect of the nitrous oxide found in smoke that binds with the heme proteins in meat and keeps them from changing color when they cook. But, you know, that's purely cosmetic. And hey, nitrites and nitrites probably give you cancer. So, you know, maybe just skip it. And that tastes like barbecue brisket. I mean, would it fool a blindfolded purist? I don't think so. You know, there's a slight taste to liquid smoke, but I don't know, man, on a rainy day, or if you just don't have access to a smoking situation outside, that's barbecue. It's barbecue. Liquid smoke is smoke, and this is real barbecue. Try it if you don't believe me.